This Sunday, the Eagles play what I would argue is their most important game of the season to date, as the 4-2 Eagles travel to Cincinnati to take on the 3-4 Cincinnati Bengals. The Eagles opened up the year 2-2. It was injury riddled. There were some good games, there were some bad games, there was some ugly wins. There was that really fun win versus the Packers, and then they go into the bye. And the Eagles very desperately, very clearly needed a bye week at that point in time, and they got it. And then they came out of that bye week against the Browns and the Giants, who may be two of the three worst teams in the NFL, not including Carolina, and they dominated them. They took care of business. They did their job. They've had more sacks than points allowed from the defense. And if it wasn't for one blocked field goal returned for a touchdown that was really some fluky type stuff, they would have dominated both games in terms of the final box score. But now Joe Burrow, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, a top 5 wide receiver duo in the NFL. And it's like, can this Eagles defense actually hold up? Can this Eagles offense actually keep pace? And we're going to find out. I think a lot of people have not been giving the Eagles credit in terms of national media. They've been worried, or I don't even know if worried, but skeptical of if this team is really good, because there's a lot of other 4-2 teams that are getting love, especially ones with rosters that aren't even as good on paper as the Philadelphia Eagles. Yet, they don't get the love that I feel deserve. Earned is tough to say, because I know you Philly fans are tough, and I know I'm an outlier sometimes when it comes to giving this team a little bit of a break, but I felt like the way that they've played, it is a little soon to just be like, this isn't a good squad. We just beat up the bad teams. We do have really good weapons. We do have a top 5 running back in the NFL in terms of rushing yards and just in terms of talent in Saquon Barkley. We do have a top 5 wide receiver duo in A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Jalen Hurts is having a pretty solid year, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. It's not the year that the opposing quarterback, Joe Burrow's having 1,759 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. If the Bengals had a better record, this guy would be the MVP favorite right now. But I feel like Jalen has done his job, and we haven't seen the turnovers the last 2 weeks. So I'm giving this team a little bit of grace. Now, how do I feel about the matchup versus the Bengals? Well, what's the path to victory, right? How did the Eagles win this game? I think it's pretty simple. I think the way that the Eagles win this game is how they won the last 2 weeks. Going up against crappy defenses, which the Cincinnati Bengals have, a bad defense, run the ball. Let Saquon Barkley dominate the game. Let him be the offensive player of the week. Let him rush for 150 plus yards again. Let him get in there for 2 scores. Dominate the time of possession. Control the clock. Keep Joe Burrow in that Bengals offense off the field as much as possible. That's the key, right? And you have the players to do it. Your offensive line is clearly better than their defensive line, even with Mailata out. Jurgens has been really, really great at some of the pull run blocking. He's looking Jason Kelsey-esque. I'm not going to compare him to the Hall of Fame center, but I'm going to say he kind of is showing that he's picked up some of what Kelsey taught him. You have Dickerson, you have Lane Johnson. Like, the running lanes should be there against the Cincinnati Bengals, and the defense has shown an ability to not be able to stop the run. Why did they lose week 1 to the Patriots? Because they couldn't stop Ramondre Stevenson. Derrick Henry in the overtime of that game busts out a big run against them. Now, do the Bengals know that the run is coming? Yeah, but can you play man-to-man coverage against A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith all day and hope that that works out? They're going to have to pick their poison, and if they pick for Jalen Hurts to beat them with the weapons that he has and their weak secondary, I think he will. But if I'm the Eagles, I'm starting this game and controlling the tempo and, ground and pound. Rough you up. Let's see what you got down in these trenches. And ultimately, when I look at what would a final team stat box score look like for an Eagles victory, in which I don't know the final score, but certain stats stick out. Time of possession, Eagles win there. Turnover battle, the Eagles don't lose that one. Maybe you don't force Burrow into turnovers, but maybe both teams are at 0-0. Rushing yards, I'd like to see the Eagles beat them by, 100-ish. That's what they did against the Giants. I think they beat the Giants by close to 200 rushing yards. Those are things that I would look to see. First downs in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. You're not going to completely shut down the Bengals offense the way that you have the Browns and the Giants, although if you do, that'll be quite impressive. But we have to be realistic here too. Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback in the sport, and Jamar Chase is a top 5 wide receiver, and T. Higgins is a really, really good second option. He is dealing with a bit of a quad injury, though, So there is a world where T. Higgins doesn't play in this game, and all of a sudden this looks like the Bengals offense from the first couple weeks, which was a little bit inept. However, I'm going to prepare as if Higgins is playing, and I still think the Eagles have a really good shot to win this game. Quinyon Mitchell has been uber impressive. The guy is looking like a top 10 corner in the NFL already. I know for some it's too soon to say that, but he's legit. You look at that defensive line, like I said, the last 2 weeks they have more sacks than points given up. They're starting to figure it out. The defense is looking good. If you could limit the turnovers on the offense and control the ball, I don't see why the Eagles don't win this game. This is one of the games where you look at the Eagles' schedule, knowing what we know through the first 7 weeks of the season, and say, if the Eagles have a legit shot to come out the NFC and win the Super Bowl this year, this is a game that they should win. And, if it comes down to one of those games where it's like whoever has the ball last wins, I guess like on a walk-off field goal or something, I wouldn't, completely hate my team after the fact, because the Bengals are a good squad. They just started off slow for no reason. They're also 0-3 at home. They're the more desperate team coming into this game. But I'll say this, the Eagles should as well play with some desperation because Washington this week is likely to be without Jaden Daniels. And if I had to guess, they're probably likely to lose that game to the Chicago Bears. Meaning if Philly wins this week and the Commanders lose, Philly, assumes control of the NFC East. And that's where you want to be at the midway point of the season if you're the Eagles. 5-2 and in first in the NFC East. There's not much more we could have asked for Eagles fans if we get to that point. Huge game. Feels like not a must win, but man, if we win this game, we are riding very high. If we lose this game, it could come back to haunt us at the end of the year. But my prediction, I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game 27-20. I think Saquon Barkley has over 150 all-purpose yards, finds the end zone. Jalen Hurts makes the plays when we need him to. He's actually been a pretty good rusher over the last couple weeks, so I wouldn't be shocked if we see that. And yes, the Bengals are going to get their plays in. They have really talented offensive players, but I look for their opportunities to be limited and a well-rested, full of energy defense because of the offense sustaining drives to get them off the field here and there. Again, remember, their offense is pretty one-dimensional. We know that they want to beat you by throwing the football, so there are some limitations to that. But as always, leave your game predictions in the comment section. We'll be up here either Sunday or Monday with our full reaction to this game. Appreciate the love y'all been showing to the channel. If you love the Philadelphia Eagles, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.